Consider funding this channel on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Link is on the side of this Tropicana reefer. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell so you can be notified whenever I upload a video. I'm going to show you two sneak peeks of routes that I'm working on. The first one is South 6th Street Railroad Crossing in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. It's a replica of a railroad crossing that I've been to recently, and I'll show some links for that crossing in the description. Now, Trainz Railroad Simulator 2019 has been giving me a lot of trouble lately, so before I waste too much time on this route, first let's see if railroad crossings even work in this game. Okay, it turns out I forgot to attach a traffic slave to the railroad crossing signs, and that's probably why they didn't activate. So I'm going to give it another chance. Well, the railroad crossing signs were working, but for some reason the traffic stoppers weren't. And I did check, and they were connected to a traffic slave that was turned on and set to the correct channel. For some reason, the cars didn't stop at it. So until they get that problem fixed, I guess I won't be working on this route for a while. The next route I'm going to show you is an extension to my East Coast bullet train route that I was working on earlier. Now, Trainz Railroad Simulator 2019 kept closing on me, so I decided to start the route from scratch again using Trainz A New Era instead. And this time I'm starting the route a little bit further north at Virginia Beach Station. This is a station where two bullet train lines meet. One of them continues northwest towards Washington, D.C., and the other one continues north toward Assateague Island in Virginia. Located near this train station is the Cape Henry Lighthouse, or should I say lighthouses since there's two of them. We'll get a little bit into that as well. So far I've laid nearly 30 miles of track and the game hasn't crashed on me yet. I think I'll continue to build the route on this game instead. Maybe I'll test it in Trainz Railroad Simulator 2019, but as far as extending the route, it's only going to be done in Trainz A New Era since I know it's not going to crash on me. Now, in case you're wondering why there are two lighthouses here, wonder no further. The old Cape Henry Lighthouse, the brown one, was built in the 1700s, but cracks in its foundation worried officials, so they decided to take the lighthouse out of service and build the new Cape Henry Lighthouse, which is the black and white one. But no one could foresee that the old Cape Henry Lighthouse would stand for another 300 years. It never collapsed, so they decided to turn it into a tourist attraction. From it, you can clearly see the new Cape Henry Lighthouse. I'm not sure if you're allowed to go inside the new one, though. This is actually a pretty good model. It actually has an interior, sort of. I've converted a few more lighthouse models from Google SketchUp in order to extend this route. One of them is the Assateague Island Lighthouse in Assateague Island, Virginia. Still not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but that's the pronunciation I could find online. Either way, I'm using this lighthouse as a stand-in for the Bodie Island Lighthouse, which for some reason does not work in this game. Still not sure why. Of course, you're also familiar with the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, the tallest brick lighthouse in the United States. And then here's the Fenwick Island Lighthouse in Fenwick Island, Delaware. Interesting fact about this lighthouse, half of the property is built north of the Mason-Dixon line and the other half is built south of it. Not sure if that was planned at the time the structure was completed, but it's a pretty interesting coincidence. That's weird. Some of the brick textures are in the windows in the house. For some reason, the lenses in these models always turn out gray, but that's alright. It's not like I can get it to light up at night anyway. Looks like the lens doesn't have an interior. Either way, time to get on with the route. Of course, you saw the Cape Henry Lighthouses earlier. And then there's the Ocracoke Village Lighthouse. I haven't converted the Cape Lookout Lighthouse, Oak Island Lighthouse, or Bald Head Lighthouse on this game yet. They're on Trainz Railroad Simulator 2019. I haven't moved them over to this game yet. Either way, time to get on with the route. Okay, I'm currently building the underpass for the tracks that curve northwest towards Newport News, Virginia. They curve underneath the tracks that continue north toward Assateague Island. These tracks are going to have to curve underneath the property of the Cape Henry Lighthouse, which raises the following question. What would happen if you built a subway tunnel underneath a lighthouse? Like, if you're in the lighthouse while a train races underneath you, wouldn't the entire structure feel like it's shaking? That would probably be very uncomfortable. especially if you're afraid of heights. But we'll never know, because in real life it's probably against some kind of zoning law to build a subway tunnel underneath a lighthouse. I can't imagine any universe where that would be allowed. This tunnel will travel underneath the lighthouse property. Now, the tracks that continue north towards Assateague Island are going to have to go in a tunnel. The tunnel will be 10 miles long, and it'll travel under the entrance to the Chesapeake Bay. It'll emerge at the Fisherman Island National Wildlife Refuge, where it'll use a series of bridges to jump across the barrier islands until it gets to the Assateague Island. Here's the southern end of the nearly 10-mile long tunnel. It connects straight to the overpass, which leads to the station. And it runs right next to the new Cape Henry Lighthouse. The land formations required to create the tunnel don't seem to hurt your ability to see the lighthouse from a distance when you're in the ocean. Okay, right now I'm extending the northwest section of the line that runs towards Newport News. Of course, I'm going to have to straighten these tracks later on if the trains are going to operate at their top speed. I had to keep a close eye on the tracks when laying these Shinkansen bridges, because the game, sometimes these glitches happen. I wish I could figure out why these glitches happen and prevent them, but for some reason at random intervals the tracks will just crisscross each other, and if you're not paying attention closely when laying these tracks, you won't even notice this is happening. I don't even know why it happens. It's clearly not because you're attaching two sections of track that travel in different directions. The game seems to be perfectly fine with that, and the tracks don't crisscross each other. It's just random intervals that it just randomly decides to crisscross the tracks, and it won't. There's no explanation of why it happens. There's no way to stop it from happening, and when it happens, there's no way to fix it. Look at that. When I lay another section of track, yep, they crisscross. This is a really annoying glitch, and I wish they would fix it. It doesn't matter which direction I lay it, it's always going to be crisscross. The only solution for this is to use single tracks instead of double tracks in the areas where the game insists on making them crisscross each other. Man, this is an annoying glitch. Now arriving on track 8 is a southbound limited Philadelphia Express to Miami Amtrak station. Train number 125 southbound. This train makes the following stops: Currituck Beach, Nags Head, Buxton, Ocracoke Village, Cape Lookout, Oak Island, Charleston, Hilton Head, Tybee Island, Jacksonville Beach, St. Augustine, Daytona Beach, Cape Canaveral, Jupiter, West Palm Beach, Delray Beach, Hillsborough Inlet, Fort Lauderdale Beach, and Miami Amtrak station. Please stand back from the yellow line and please once again aboard the train. Now arriving on track 2 is a Shinkansen Philadelphia Limited northbound local service number 065 to 30th Street Station. Making stops at Newport News, Washington, D.C. Union Station, BWI Airport, Wilmington, and 30th Street Station. Please stand back from the yellow line and please watch the gap while boarding the train. Attention passengers, some trains that approach platforms 4 and 5 are express trains that will not stop. I repeat, attention passengers, some trains that approach platforms 4 and 5 are express trains that will not stop. Attention passengers, the next train on platform 4 is an express train and will not stop. I repeat, attention passengers, the next train on track 4 is an express train and will not stop. Please stand back from the platform edge. Now arriving on track 2 is a Shinkansen Philadelphia Limited northbound local service number 065 to 30th Street Station. Making stops at Newport News, Washington D.C. Union Station, BWI Airport, Baltimore, Wilmington, and 30th Street Station. Please stand back from the yellow line and please watch the gap while boarding the train. Now arriving on track 8 is a Mexico City Limited southbound local service, train number 665 to Mexico City, making stops at Currituck Beach, Nags Head, Buxton, Ocracoke Village, Cape Lookout, Oak Island, Charleston, Savannah, Jacksonville Amtrak Station, Tallahassee, Pensacola, Mobile, Pascagoula, Gulfport, New Orleans, Lake Charles, Port Arthur, Galveston, Lake Jackson, Port O'Connor, Port Aransas, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, Border Security Checkpoint number 2, San Fernando, Abasolo, Ciudad Victoria, Ciudad Valle, Huachinango, Tulancingo, and Ciudad Mexico, Estación Tasqueña. Please stand back from me, y'all. I'm the police watch gap while boarding the train. Please note that when crossing the border between two countries, a valid passport must be presented. Atención pasajeros, ahora embarca en la vía 8 es un Mexico City Limited. Tren número 665 en Ciudad de México, Estación Tasqueña, haciendo paradas en Currituck Beach, Nags Head, Buxton, Ocracoke Village, Cape Lookout, Oak Island, Charleston, Savannah, Georgia, Jacksonville, Estación Amtrak, Tallahassee, Pensacola, Mobile, Pascagoula, Gulfport, Nueva Orleans, Lake Charles, Port Arthur, Galveston, Lake Jackson, Port O'Connor, Port Aransas, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, puesto de control de seguridad fronteriza número 2, San Fernando, Abasolo, Ciudad Victoria, Ciudad Valles, Huachinango, Tulancingo y Estación Tasqueña, Ciudad México. Por favor, observe la brecha al abordar el tren. Un pasaporte válido debe estar presente al cruzar la frontera. The train we're riding now currently is a local train that goes to Fulton Center, New York City subway station. This train, after going to Cape Henry, will travel in a tunnel that travels underneath the entrance to the Chesapeake Bay. This tunnel is more than 10 miles long and emerges above ground at Fisherman Island National Wildlife Refuge. At this point, it is above ground and uses a series of bridges to cross the barrier islands until it gets to Assateague Island, where there will be another train station stop. After that, it will cross a few more barrier islands and it will end up in Fenwick Island, Delaware, where there will be an express station stop. After that, it'll travel up the coast of New Jersey until it gets to New York at Fulton Center. Now approaching Cape Henry, Virginia Beach Station. Transfers available to various trains going to Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., New York, Miami, Key West, and Mexico City. This is a local train to Fulton Center, New York City subway station via Assateague Island. The next station stop on this line will be Assateague Island. Welcome aboard the East Coast Shinkansen, northbound local service to Fulton Center, New York City subway and PATH station. The next stop on this line will be Assateague Island Lighthouse. This train will also be stopping at Trippets Rides, Fenwick Island, Cape May, Atlantic City, Bay Head, Long Branch, and Barnegat on its way to New York. This train does not stop at Sandy Hook. For Sandy Hook, please transfer at Atlantic City for a Hikari Railstar northbound service. Attention passengers, we are now approaching the Fisherman's Island National Wildlife Refuge. We will be arriving at Assateague Island in a few minutes. That's all the track I have for now.